together for a special morning. We're thinking today about winning the war on worry. And we did say to the earlier congregation, put your hand up if you are a worrier. Not a warrior, a worrier. And we had a really good service earlier on today. And I asked people to put their hands up. Nearly everybody put their hand up because we all struggle with worry from time to time. And so we're just going to enjoy spending some time together this morning. It's a different sort of service. It's a different sort of service because it's a guest weekend. So anybody who's here as a guest, you are very, very welcome. And it's lovely to have you here. The children will be going out at a certain part of the service. I'll let them know when. The rest of us are staying in here, unless you particularly want to go and join the children, which I'm sure that Maggie and Liz would welcome. But it's lovely to be together and to share together. I was saying to the previous congregation, there was a great evangelist who went out to speak to hundreds of people who are in front of him. And he said something like this for about 20 minutes. He said, I'm a follower of Jesus, therefore I don't worry. I don't have to worry because I've got Jesus in my life. And because Jesus is in my life, there's no need for me to worry about anything. I just don't feel worry comes into my head at all. And after about 20 minutes of that, he went off to the side. He spoke to one of the stewards. He said, I'm really worried. He said, I'm not sure that I got my message across. You know, if we're honest about it, it's a bit silly to say don't worry about anything because we know that that's part of our nature. And I hope that during the service today, if you're a worrier, I hope that during the service today, God speaks to you and just says to you and reassures you, I'm right there with you. I'm by your side. Know that you're not on your own. So we're going to have a song by the worship group. We're really delighted. We've got some different faces this morning. It's lovely for you to give up your time to be here. So thank you so much. Please take it away. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Please take a seat. I said this morning that if you're visiting us, we're not going to ask you to make a financial contribution. We're not going to ask you to sing. So if you want to remain seated during the songs, please do that. Don't feel embarrassed about that at all. We're not going to ask you to pray anything. If there's any prayer, I will offer it and explain what we're doing. But I'm really delighted that we've got different people here today who are taking part in the service, because I think it's so much better than listening to one voice all the time. And so we're delighted today to have Simon here, Simon Pinchbeck. Some of you met him last night at the school for our outreach evening, and we had a great time with him last night, and he took part in the service, the early service this morning. Chris is going to come forward now, and we're going to talk to Chris about his story. And if the children want to go out at this point, then by all means do enjoy your morning. I hope you have a great time. Chris is coming forward. Later on, we're going to have a panel of us at the front here. Mel's on the panel, so is Andrew, so is Simon. If you've got any questions about worry, then it's then to ask those questions. That would be great. Think about that. But we're going to start with Chris, because Chris has got a fantastic story to tell about where he come from and where he is now. So Chris, it's great to have you. I'm sorry that you've had to do this twice today.
It's fine, it's fine.
But it's a really important story that we all hear about the way that your life has been transformed. So tell us a little bit, Chris, about the background and about your life, and then say as much as you can.
I will, yeah.
And then I'll jump in with some more questions. That'd be great. Thank you.
Morning. I'll try not to get as emotional as I did last time, but yeah, basically, I used to go to church when I was probably about 10 years old, then come away from that. Obviously, unfortunately, I got into drugs when I was quite young. I started smoking cannabis. Something that I'll sort of talk of, like Simon mentioned it actually last night, about people don't realise how destructive that drug is, and it will take you down the wrong roads. And unfortunately, with myself, I smoked it for a very long time. I was very addicted. Got into selling it as well as doing other drugs, and obviously for quite a while was trying to find a way out. I couldn't see that, but obviously I do sort of every year. I was trying to change my life, and then it took me a long time. And one day I was just sitting at home, looking on my phone, and I just come across another man's testimony, basically of a vision of hell, and he described it. He was like an atheist, and he had overdosed himself on drugs, and he'd seen his vision, and and obviously he explained, hell itself. And as I was sitting there smoking, and I've been smoking it, I could feel my heart opening, and I did start to cry then. It's a place that I didn't want to go, and it was obviously a place that, as my life had been leading, that's where I was going. And so I decided there and then, as I felt my heart opening, that I wanted to give my life to the Lord. So I then phoned my parents. My parents have been Christians for a long time, and I know obviously they've been praying for me. It's only now when you become and walk your life with the Lord, you look back on previous things in your life that you see where the Lord has been touching you and has been there. I truly believe that. So yeah, I spoke to my dad. Obviously he was very happy, but I then came up to see him and his pastor at his church, and we met and we chatted, and we prayed, and obviously I gave my life to the Lord then, and it was just awesome. And then obviously everything started to change for me. It was I got home, I was still smoking, okay, so I hadn't gone away straight away, and it was like, but then one day I was sitting there, and it was like the Lord had spoken to me. I was sitting there smoking, and I'd put it down, and the Lord said, I could feel that sort of through me that He spoke, and He said, is this better than me? And of course, it's not. So yeah, that was it. My life was forever changed, and it's so awesome. And that feeling was so great, and I put everything away and threw it away. My addiction stopped. I have slipped, it was a long addiction. 28 years of my life was, but I can glorify the Lord in that, because I've seen other people with addictions that have gone back to that, and maybe even a couple of years they've carried on with that. But myself, I could just glorify God in that. I just threw it straight away. It was like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? And obviously, the Lord, by His grace, He was always there for me, and I got through that. So yeah, it's just, obviously, it was a hard thing to go through, but through Him and through His love, and through His grace, that I've been saved. And it's just an awesome journey.
Chris, can I just ask you one further question?
Yeah, sure.
What difference has it made to you since you've been a Christian, since Jesus has been at work in your life? Well, I think He's at work in us before we get to that point of making us. But since you've actually made that step of faith, how is your life different from how it was before? But, you said that you gave up the drugs and everything, but how is it different now?
It's completely different, because it's like, smoking marijuana, it makes you, you're not interested in life, so obviously that's one thing. God gives you life, that He is life. So a change of my heart completely has changed, He's changed my heart. Just that, obviously the whole way of my life, because all I want to do is, teach people about the Lord. That's I feel that all the time, but yeah, as my life was, it wasn't going anywhere, and I suppose, in some ways it was like a depressive life. It was just because every day it was just the fact I needed to smoke, That's what was getting me through. But the change now is that every day it's His hope. Yeah, it's His hope, and it's His love, and He just gives me joy abundantly. I'm just so happy, I was not I suppose I sort of showed I was happy then, but I think it was like what Mel touched on earlier in the service, where on the outside you show that everything's okay, but inside it's not. But now, we all, like you say, we worry. There's certain things we get anxiety about, but to be quite honest, I just turn to Him. Mm-hmm. And just give Him praise and trust in Him, and trust Him totally in my life. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for
right.
sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
I'm sure that if you want to know more about Chris's story, he'd be more than happy to see you. Chris and I went out delivering hope things together, and we could talk more about our faith and everything while we were popping things indoors. I have to say, I think I did more than you, but it's just a feeling. Because Chris gave me one side of the road, which I was doing was full of houses, and then he was doing the side of the road where there was a recreation ground, so he skipped a load, but we did help each other out. I know Chris would love to talk to you a bit more about his life. If you want to ask him questions, I'm sure that would be all right. Yes. So bless you for speaking. Thank you so much, Chris. That's great. We're going to watch, we're going to watch something on the screen.
Life moves fast, doesn't it? Every day there is so much to fit in. But do you ever stop and think, what's the point of it all? Do you ever ask yourself, is there more to life than this? Alpha is a series of sessions exploring life, faith, and meaning. It's a space to explore the big questions, to say what you think, and hear other people's points of view. First up, there's food, then a talk, followed by a discussion. Each talk explores a different aspect of the Christian faith, and then in a small group, you get to say exactly what you think. The aim of the talk is to spark conversation, each week unpacking a different question. There's no obligation to say anything, and there's nothing you can't say. Seriously. It's an opportunity to hear from others and contribute your own perspective in an honest, friendly, and open environment. Why not try it out?
Friends, we're doing something different with Alpha this time, in that the benefice, where I spend a quarter of my time in one of the churches in the benefice of Rain, Black Notley and Great Notley, so I spend a quarter of my time at Great Notley. We've decided to do a joint Alpha course between the benefice and Christchurch, and we're just encouraging people, if you've just got questions you want to ask, just let's join together. It doesn't matter which church we're from or which denomination we sit in. Just come along and find out a bit more. Ask some of those big questions that we've been asking for a while. So we're doing a joint course. We're having a taster session one evening in November, and then we will start running the course in January, and it will take us up to Easter. If you are a Christian already and you're thinking to yourself, I could really do with brushing up on the basics. You know, my face drifted a little bit. I need to get back to the basics. Then please do let us know and come on the Alpha course. There are response cards on the table where you came in. And all you've got to do is put your name and address in and tick whichever groups you're interested in, whether it be Alpha or something else. We would love to have you with us. Mel and I must have done about, I don't know, we've done loads of Alpha courses, and we learn something new every time we do them, because it's always a new group of people. And that new group of people have new sorts of questions, and you would be really welcome to come to that. So please just fill out the response form and let us know. Mel's coming up now. We're going to share with you a little bit of drama without dressing up. So Mel is, I asked Mel to do this, but it's a sketch about when we have emergencies in our lives. And when we have emergencies, where do we turn for the help? God wants us to allow him to rescue us, but you have to let him in if he's going to do that. Mel is playing the part of Maud. Maud is an old, nervy, and anxiously excitable woman. I chose Mel for this, not for any particular reason. I just asked her if she'd do this. I'm a fireman, I'm the rescuer. I'm very businesslike and just want to get on with the job. So this is Maud and the fire at her house, emergency 999.
Oh no, what am I going to do? I hope they're here soon.
Nino, Nino, Nino. Never fear, your friendly firefighter is here.
Oh, you're here. I'm saved. Oh, wonderful. Oh, super. Oh, marvellous. Oh, sit down and have a cup of tea.
Oh, thanks very much. No, I can't sit down and have a cup of tea. There's a fire.
Oh, don't worry about that, dear.
But I must. It's my job to put out fires. I've got to put your fire out. I'll start in here.
No.
What do you mean, no?
You can't go in there I haven't dusted in there in years. The place is a terrible mess. I don't want you thinking I live in a pigsty.
But madam, I must. The fire.
No.
Well, I'll go up there then.
No, you can't go up there.
No? Why?
You can't possibly go into that room.
Why ever not? Really, madam, I've seen dirty washing before, you know. All I want to do is put the fire out. So what if your smalls are hanging up, drying in there?
Don't say it too loud.
Oh, sorry.
I don't want them over the road to hear.
Well, how about in here then?
No.
What?
We don't go in there.
Well, that might be where the fire is. Why don't you go in there?
Well, I had an argument with my sister Enid. Christmas 1973 it was. I've never forgiven her. We've not been in there since.
But madam, your house is on fire.
And when I think of some of the hurtful things she said, I mean, I couldn't believe it at the time.
Excuse me, your house is on fire?
And I can't believe it now. I mean, I know she said that I'd said some horrible things to her, but I think I was just being honest. And if people can't take a bit of honesty when it's given with the best intent...
Your house is on fire.
I know my house is on fire. You haven't got to tell me my house is on fire. That's why I called you. I don't know. Put a hose in their hand, a hat on their head, and they think they're mastermind or something. Coming in here telling me my house is on fire. Whatever next, must think I'm stupid.
Right, madam. I'll start upstairs then.
No, you can't go up there. That's where I keep all me knickknacks.
Your knick-knack?
Yes, I can't have you going upstairs looking at my knickknacks. What would the neighbours say?
But I wouldn't be looking at your knick-knacks. I'll be putting out the fire.
It wouldn't be right.
Well, where can I go? I can't go in there because you haven't dusted. I can't go through there because your smalls are hanging up. I can't go in that room over there because you've had an argument with your sister,
Enid.
Enid, that's right, back in 1973. And I can't go upstairs because of your knick-knacks.
Well, the neighbours would be, you know.
So, madam, where can I go?
Well, can't you just squirt a bit of water around in this room? That'd make a start.
What, like that?
That's a good idea of mine. Now, you just sit down and I'll put the kettle on. And I've got a nice plate of macaroons. Homemade, you know, mind. None of this. What's that?
Where?
There.
Oh, that'll be flames, madam.
And what are those there?
Yes, they're flames as well.
And those?
Yes, they're all flames.
And what's that billowing down the stairs?
That'll be heavy smoke, madam. And more flames if I'm not very much mistaken.
Look, they're everywhere. There, and over there. Don't just sit there drinking tea and eating cake.
Oh, your macaroons are lovely. And you can tell straight away they're homemade. Absolutely lovely.
Forget my homemade macaroons. My house is burning down. Get up and help. Why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you do anything to help me?
Well, madam, you wouldn't let me in. So, there are many reasons why we might not let Jesus into parts of our lives. We might say it's too private. It's my own space. We might say, I'm too hurt about that situation. I don't want to relive that memory. Whatever it might be, sometimes we've got an emergency going on and Jesus is standing there saying, will you let me come in and deal with it? And we say, it's getting too personal. It's getting too close to home. But despite what we think, our thoughts have not put him off. He wants to help us, not just with part of our life, but with all of it. And some of it we may be scared about. Some of it we may feel angry about. But God wants to get in and rescue us before we're overcome. I'm delighted to say that I'm not doing a sermon this morning. So this, no, you don't have to clap, David. I know what you feel. We decided to do a different sort of service altogether today. And I didn't want to preach because we wanted people to coming in to church, maybe they're not usually here, we want them to feel comfortable. We don't want them to think we're preaching at them. So I asked some people if they would be part of a panel to talk about worry. And I'm delighted that Simon's here. He stayed with us this morning for both services and last night. Mel's coming forward as well, and so is Andrew. And they're going to come forward. While they come forward, let me just tell you a little bit about what we're talking about. Because most of us, I think it's probably true that all of us have more negative thoughts than we do positive thoughts. So that is probably true for all of us. You know, you can focus on the negative things. You know, somebody said to me once, if you finished a service and 10 people tell you it was a great service and one person says didn't enjoy that at all, it's the one person that you'll go over and over and over because it's a negative thought and it's difficult to deal with. Maybe if Jesus was here today, he wouldn't talk about worry. He talked about worry a lot. We'll get onto that in a bit. But maybe if Jesus was here today, he'd talk about anxiety. He'd talk about when you're anxious. That seems to be the word that we've adopted instead of worry today. Are you anxious about anything? Research shows, and it's always true because the research shows it, that 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health problem of some kind each year. 1 in 4 of us will experience a mental health problem each year. 72% of the UK believes that the virus, the pandemic, is their greatest worry at this time. 29% of us worry about our families. 24% of us worry about job security. And 1 in 14 people self-harm. That's more than doubled since the year 2000. So these are all things that we bring with us to a service like this. So I'm going to talk to these guys, and I just want to start off with thanking you guys for doing this. As I said, I introduced you to Simon. Simon's just goes around the country and different parts of the world telling people about his faith and his life story. So we're delighted to have Simon here tonight. Lovely to have Andrew here. We just thought Andrew's got some words of wisdom to share on this. So Jill might disagree, but we asked Andrew if he'd be part of this, and he agreed. And Mel's got a background in counselling, so we just thought it'd be an interesting perspective to get that angle on it. So can I just ask you guys, I don't mind who goes first, and if you haven't got something to say about all 3 questions, don't feel you have to. But I wonder if you could just tell us about a time where you experienced anxiety at the greatest point in your life, and how did you deal with it? How did you deal with it? Mel, perhaps we'll start with you, and then we'll see how questions go.
Okay. Well, I came from a difficult background, and I knew anxiety from a very young age. I was rejected by my father. I can remember earliest age of about 3. I had some deeply traumatic things happen to me. And so what happens when you're traumatized is that anxiety becomes a part of you. You think there is something fundamentally wrong with you, and that everybody else is okay. And it's a defense strategy, really, because it's necessary for survival, and you learn that the world isn't safe. And it wasn't until I started my counselling journey that I realised all of this. And actually that was acknowledged, you know, and it wasn't just me. So I think it becomes an intrinsic part of you, really.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll have a go. When I was thinking about this, the first thing that came to mind, so I'll stick with the first thing that came to mind, was in the early 90s I was working in London for a firm of solicitors, which was not a particularly happy place to be, actually. I think a mark of it was that the Christians, those of us that were Christians in the firm, we got together and started meeting regularly to pray for each other because we felt under so much pressure. And I really knew I didn't fit in this firm at all. And I was pretty convinced they were going to make me redundant. So in the midst of all that, we decided we'd move house from our three-bedroom semi to a 4-bed detached. So, which seemed like, such a brilliant idea at the time when you thought you might actually be made redundant. But the interesting thing was that, I don't know, when we sat down and thought about it, I said, well, I think if I'm made redundant, we're going to be in trouble in the 3-bed semi, so let's be in trouble in a larger house.
Okay. This is a real step of faith.
So, it was a real step of faith. I mean, as things turned out, about a year later, they did make me redundant, but I was already looking to move to another firm, and I found another firm, which I moved to, and where I was very happy for the next 11 years. So it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Andrew. Simon?
I've never been a massive worrier, I'll be honest with you. I've always, glasses always half full for me. But at a time when I wasn't a Christian, and I think I explained last night, I was in the police force, I was charged with serious assault on another police officer. And I thought they were going to drop that. This is my mindset, how I think. I thought they were going to drop the charge all the time. And for 15, 18 months, I thought, you're going to drop the charge. And it wasn't until I was standing in the dock in the court that I realised they weren't going to drop the charge. And I was looking at a prison sentence, really. And it was a week whereby I was going to go in, I could go into prison. My family was going to be worried, and I started to really worry about that situation. How I dealt with that after each day in court, I would go and train like mad. I'd run, I'd smash the punch bag, I'd try and get rid of that sort of stuff. And because I try to do it, I think before, without the Lord, you try and do things yourself, don't you? Mm. Especially as a bloke, you think, I can control this, I can do this myself. But of course we can't. And but as a Christian, the biggest worry was, and we've heard it this morning, was my 2 boys when they went onto drugs. I didn't know quite how to cope with that. I was worried about them, and worried about the outcome. But as a Christian, I was able to turn to the Lord, and that gave me peace in a troubled time, if you like. So there's the 2 differences. I tried to control things myself, which didn't work out. And I put my trust in the Lord, and both my boys, like Chris, praise God, came off the drugs.
Right, brilliant. I just wonder if I could ask you the question: do you think that worrying is part of our nature? Do you think it's part of who we are? If we try to not worry, then I don't know, maybe you've known people like this. I knew somebody I used to work with. If she didn't have anything to worry about, she worried, because she felt that she should be worrying about something. Do you think it's part of our nature? And then we'll get on to what Jesus said about worrying, but do you think that's part of some people's nature? It's just how we are, Mel?
Well, I think anxiety is part of everybody, because, if we believe that God created us, he designed us, he gave us our emotions. And some anxiety is good, because we know research has shown that if we have a little bit of anxiety, we perform better at work. But it's when it's also a warning signal. It stops us, it keeps us from danger. So we're never going to eliminate all anxiety, but it's when it's in control of us. And I think God knows how much it troubles us. I've read recently that fear not appears 365 times in the Bible. So that's once for each day of the year. So God knows how much, it worries us, but he's here for us. And we can give it to him, as Simon said.
Go on, Andrew.
Well, I was just going to say, I think possibly it is part of our nature, because I think we may be the only animal. Well, we certainly can look into the future, think about the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say a goldfish's attention span is 30 seconds or something, and it just keeps reliving that 30 seconds. Well, he doesn't worry about the future, does he? Because he can't see beyond the next 30 seconds. I think because we can see into the future, then we will worry about it.
Okay. Because one of the interesting things, we're coming on to what Jesus said, and I want to ask you the question, do you think Jesus, when he told us not to worry, was being unrealistic. Do you think that is just too much? And I think part of my thinking about that was, following on from what Andrew said about the goldfish, Jesus was really, I think, saying to us, when he said, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will have enough worries of its own. I think Jesus was saying to all of us, don't think too far ahead. You know, because the further you think ahead, the more worries that come into your mind. And I wonder do you think Jesus was, Simon, do you think Jesus was being unrealistic?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think he was being unrealistic at all. And you're right in so much as the worry is, worry goes what if? What if this happens? And all of a sudden, you've created a scenario there's an outcome down the road which will never happen. You created that in your own head. And Jesus knew exactly what he was saying, and totally he wasn't being unrealistic when he said don't worry, because as we've heard this morning, Chris, the words he used was, I gave my life to the Lord. Well, when you give your life to the Lord, then you become the Lord's property, God's property, and he will look after you. It says in the Bible, doesn't it? He will hide you, he'll take care of you. Jesus said, Matthew 11:28, come to me with all your troubles and burdens and I will give you rest. Why? Because my burden is light and my yoke is light, my burden is light. Because he'll walk with us. And so what he was saying was, keep your eyes on me. And what happened when Peter was walking on the water, he's keeping his eyes on Jesus. When he took his eyes off Jesus, he started to sink, didn't he? So what Jesus was saying was, don't worry, I'll take the worry for you, just keep your eyes on me. And it's not easy. It's not easy because we naturally, and as men, we naturally want to control situations. So to surrender to Jesus, that's a big thing for men. But it's a massive thing if you can do it.
I always remember somebody saying to me, the word that we use in the Bible to talk about Lord is actually better put across in life today as the boss. You know, and when you say to fellas, you've got to put this guy called Jesus to be the boss of your life, that is a huge thing to take on board, isn't it? It's very difficult.
I do a lot of work with men in different groups, and what men try to do, they try and fix things. And so when their wives come to them with a problem, what they'll do, immediately they'll go, yeah, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do the other. When all their wife really wants is them to listen to them, because their wife can work things out themselves. You know, they can quite easily sort things out. All they want is for you to give them a bit of comfort and listen into that situation. They don't want to hear, you need to do that, I can sort that out. No, just give them a little bit of comfort.
Okay, that's really helpful, thank you. Mel, can I ask you a different question? Do you think that worry is ever a good thing? You know, because we've recognised we all worry about different things, but is worry ever a good thing?
Well, as I said earlier, you know, a certain amount of anxiety can keep us safe. But I think sometimes for Christians, we can feel incredibly guilty or full of shame about worrying, because we feel that everything should be all right on the outside. I do quite a lot of work with trauma with clients, and just brought this as an example today. It's the same for guys as well. You know, we have this image on the outside, maybe even as we come to church, that everything's okay. I want everyone to think that everything's okay. But inside, and there's many layers to this doll, but I've just brought the little one. Inside is that little child in all of us who's frightened, who's anxious. Maybe as they're anxious as a child, they're still anxious as an adult, but don't know why. And I think we carry a lot of shame. Yeah.
Thanks, Mel.
I'd just completely agree with Mel on that situation, because I meet many men who are little boys inside men's bodies. And it's normally because of a problem with their earthly father. And many Christian men are the same. or searching for validation or searching for recognition because something has gone on in their past. So Melly's exactly right. Inside that adult frame, sometimes there's just a little boy, little child. Yeah.
Brilliant. Andrew?
Well, yeah, I think we all wear a mask, don't we? I think we all walk around showing a face to the world, which is not always true. And I think that, as you say, that's especially true for men, because we don't want to let anyone else into that place and expose ourselves and make ourselves vulnerable. And that's something that I think particularly men have trouble with.
I think it's a great point, Andrew. And I think, Mel, you made a great point too, that church sometimes is a difficult place to open up to, and when I've had small groups of men from different churches, when they open up and they realise that everyone is struggling with certain things, or maybe the same things as they're struggling with, they go, it's such a... Because I walked into the church and I saw you raising your hands, praising the Lord. I thought you was everything, you got it all cracked. But no, you're just the same as me.
I think it normalises it, doesn't it? When other people can see that, it normalises it, acknowledges it. And it's okay then to share.
It's a big release, yeah. It's a massive, massive release. And blokes, the normal thing what happens is, Andrew, is this, isn't it? How are you? I'm all right. You're all right, yeah. Cup of tea, bit of cake, see you next week. That's about it as it goes in a church.
Yeah.
I've actually recently, comparatively recently, stopped saying I'm okay when somebody says, "Are you all right?"
Okay.
I usually say, "Not too bad."
Right.
Because I think it's probably more accurate.
Yeah. Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you. I just wondered, can we sum up? Is there one sort of practical thing that if we're worrying about something, is there one practical thing you can give us to take away and put into practice in our lives? Is there sort of, I remember the story, and while you're thinking about your answers to that question, I remember the story about a builder who had got his own firm. He'd got a family at home, and he'd had the day from hell. He'd had a terrible day. He'd had a flat tyre in his car on the way to work. The materials that he needed to do the job didn't turn up, and everything went wrong on this day. And at the end of the day, he offered to give a friend of his a lift home. And he said to his friend, "I'd like you to meet my family." And as he drove to his home, his face was, you could tell he'd had a terrible day. And as he got out of the car, his friend watched him, and he went over, before he knocked on the door, he went over to a little shrub that he had, a little tree, and he just did this on lots of branches. With both his hands, he touched the tree. And when he had done that, he completely transformed. And he went in the house, and everything was fine. He was a completely different character. And his friend said to him, What changed you? And he said, "What were you doing at that tree?" And he said, "That's my worry tree." And he said, "I leave all my worries from work on that tree before I go into my house, because it's not fair on my family to burden them with all of that." And then he said something very interesting. And he said, "The thing is, when I go out in the morning, I stop at the worry tree, and there's always fewer things for me to take off it than there were that I put on it the night before." And I just thought it's a practical thing that guy was doing in his life. What practical tip can you give to us?
I would say one of my favourite verses in the Bible to do with fear is 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7, because instead of starting with fear not or do not fear, it says leave all your worries with him because he cares for you. And the first part of that, leaving all your worries, acknowledges that we have got worries, and it normalises them as we said earlier. And also, with the bit he cares for you, we know that we don't have to do it in our own strength. We can do it in his strength. We can't do it on our own. And finally, I just want to say, you mentioned the word warrior earlier, because if we're a warrior, we're doing it in our own strength, but we can be a prayer warrior, and we can give all our worries to the Lord. knowing that he will help us. We can depend on him. We can't depend on ourselves or other people.
Fantastic, thank you. Andrew, do you want to give us a practical way of...
Yeah, well, I thought a couple of things occurred to me. I thought, one, a tip of what not to do.
Okay.
And one, a tip of what to do. Because what has been for many years my favourite way of dealing with a worry is to not think about it, to ignore it. Not so much putting your head in the sand, more putting it in some concrete, to be honest.
Okay.
Forget about it. So I don't advocate that, but I'm saying that's what I've done far too often. Don't do that.
Okay.
For me, the thing that really gives me comfort is certain Bible passages, and that one behind me is probably one of my favourites.
Okay.
Consider not the lilies
Yeah.
of the field, but King Solomon was not dressed in clothes as splendid as that. That one, for some reason, that's always resonated with me. And the other thought is that, and I think you touched on it in your talk last night, is that the God who created the universe and everything in it is concerned personally about me and my life, and wants to save me personally, and that just blows my mind away.
Fantastic.
When I think about that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. Simon, do you want to finish us off?
Yeah, it's great stuff, Andrew and Mel. Yes, thank you. Jesus wants to be our worry tree, doesn't he? He wants us to come to him with our worries.
Yeah.
He wants us to hang our worries on him. That's what he wants. He wants you to come to him. It's like if you've got children, you want them to come to you, don't you? You want them to lift the phone up to you and say, look, I've got this, will you help me? Jesus is there. That's what he wants us to do. And I think both you guys are right. We need to be anchored in some scripture that maybe a go-to scripture when anxiety comes in. You know, there's loads of them out there, isn't there? You know, we haven't been given a spirit of fear, but of love and of a sound mind. And I've got one I use, which is Psalm 62. You know, my soul finds rest in you alone. And the other week, as I was saying earlier, the other week, I was waking up about 3 a.m. thinking, where am I going to get fuel from? You know, I've got this to do, that to do. And the only way I get back to sleep is just keep hitting it with that scripture. It won't happen once you've got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But we've got to have a go-to scripture. That's the thing.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, all three of you, for joining in with this today. It's been really helpful. I've learnt a lot from listening to you guys, so thank you. And I think they deserve a round of applause for coming here. Thank you. We're going to watch something else on the screen now. Thanks, Rowan.
Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Oh, 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 this is me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Oh, 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 oh.
I am chosen, not forsaken. I
I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown 'em out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I'll make no apologies. This is me. Who the sun sets free, who is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
Thank you, guys. We're going to run a couple of groups in the church called wellbeing groups. We're doing it for all of us who want to come along. If you're finding this pandemic has left you struggling with all sorts of baggage that you're carrying around with you, we're going to take a different topic each week, and we're just going to have a look at that. It's by a group called Kenzugi Hope. Kenzugi is a Japanese term, and it is about when you break a bowl or drop a cup, instead of just sticking it together, they mix gold powder in with the glue, and then they fix the piece of pottery with that gold paste. And when it finishes, people say it almost looks more beautiful after it has been broken and put back together again than it did from the outset. And so we're going to run some of those groups as a church, and we would love for you to either come along or send some invite to somebody who you know has been struggling through the pandemic. We can look at all sorts of questions to do with our mental health and well-being. But let's just watch this video for a minute.
My youngest son, Nathaniel, was at a friend's house. There was a confrontation with a boy that turned up and decided that he'd take a knife and stab Nathaniel with it. I feel like at that time I was in a bubble and feeling alone and not even knowing how to articulate that to anyone.
I had to have major limb reconstruction surgery. Around the same time, my daughter got a condition called HSP and my dad got cancer. It was like a perfect storm of things going wrong. And I realised that the anxiety was really taking root in my life. And then you realise that actually you can't just carry on. And you need to show some self-compassion.
Bereavement is different for everyone. What's really important is that people are able to talk to someone that they can connect with. And through that, there's a real good healing process.
And actually maybe receiving help is letting go of your pride and saying, I am really broken. And as we share in our brokenness, we share in our common humanity.
The brokenness is my heart, and it's in pieces. But through time, it's starting to come together again.
As a worship group come forward to sing for us, let me just reiterate, if you feel uncomfortable standing and singing or even sitting and singing, and let's be honest about it, some of us only sing in the shower badly or at a football ground. So if it's not for you, just stay seated, don't worry about that. Allow the words that the worship group are using to just take your thoughts somewhere. Just maybe reflect on something that we've heard this morning. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Though my enemies surround, I will not win.
again, resting in your promise.
Thank you so much, guys. So we've come to the end of our service. Just want to encourage you to fill out a response card for us. In the response card, there's all the different things. We've talked a bit about Alpha and the Wellbeing Group, the Kenzugi Hope Group. But there are other things on there that you might be inclined to think, yeah, I'll be interested in that. If you can just fill that card out. I love to write to people if they're new in church. I like to write to people the next week and just to introduce us. And if you can fill that response card out, give it back to me, and then I will do the rest. You haven't got to worry about anything else. I'll be in contact with you, and I will keep you informed as to when things are going to happen. I just want to say a big thank you to those who have helped today. It's Dennis, isn't it? And we are so grateful to you, Dennis, coming along. If you're sort of thinking, well, Alison looks different this week, there is a reason for that. Alison, bless her heart, has lost her voice. So we're with you, Alison. I know that it's horrible losing your voice. But we're grateful for you, Dennis, and grateful for the worship team. Thank you, guys, all of you, for playing for us today. Can I also thank Simon and Andrew and Chris, who were part of this. Simon, Andrew and Mel, who were part of the group here today. How could I forget you, Mel? Sorry. And I want to thank... I'm coming home with you, Simon. So I want to thank Chris for sharing his testimony with us today. It's a hard thing to share your testimony. We loved hearing it, Chris, and thank you for sharing what God's been doing. And finally, thank you to Rowan and Andrew, who've been at the back as well, and for Colin and Alison helping out at the back there today. It's been great to have you with us. Thank you. And finally, before our worship group sing the last song, I'd just like to say a very happy birthday to Dan, because it's Dan's birthday today, and we hope you've had a fantastic day, Dan. We hope the rest of your day goes really well. How old are you today, Dan? 16. Fantastic. Well done. And we hope you have a great day. I'm sure you've got things planned for the rest of the day. So many congratulations from all of us. I think that's all the thank yous. I don't think I've forgotten anybody, but bless you for being here this morning. We're going to go out worshipping, and so I'll hand over to Dennis and the Great. Thank you.
Give me